Hi, and welcome to this episode of Through the Gunsights. Like everybody, we've been affected by the coronavirus, but we have been in the privileged position of being able to work from home and keep developing the game. During this period, we've been very fortunate in being able to break through and make some really exciting stuff, and we want to share it with you. So to showcase this, I'm going to hand over to our design director, Sturt Jeffrey.
I've had a lot of questions lately about weapon handling and combat. So I'd like to run you through just a few of our weapon handling mechanics now to give you all a better idea of what to expect when you finally get your hands on the game. Before I do that, there was another recent question about one specific weapon in particular, the L2A3 Sterling submachine gun, which has now reached its final art pass stage. The Sterling is a lightweight weapon, effective at short to medium range, and fires 9mm rounds from a 34-round side-mounted magazine. This particular weapon is used by our British forces on the NATO side. So now let's take a look at some of our basic weapon mechanics. First up, some of you have asked whether we'll have the ability to steady weapons by bracing them against objects in the world, and the answer is yes, you can. All you need to do to make use of this feature is to move up to a suitable object, enter iron sights, and aim your weapon near to that object. It'll automatically be detected, and you'll see an icon indicating that you are now braced. This reduces weapon movement from breathing and sway, as well as a slight reduction to recoil. And speaking of breathing and sway, even if you don't have something to brace against, you can hold a key to exhale and briefly steady the weapon for a shot. Something else you asked was whether we would have sight misalignment effects, and again the answer is yes. Move your weapon around quickly and your sights will briefly lose alignment. In 83, bullets come out of the weapon's barrel, not the centre of your screen. So if your sights don't align, your shot is not going to go where you'd expect if this was another game. That also means that when you fire, the recoil will quite literally tilt your weapon up to the sky, not just your view. Fire a single shot, and most of that motion will be compensated for all on its own. But fire a burst, and your rounds will end up going a lot higher than you intended. You can compensate for it though, by pulling the weapon back down onto the target. Now, all that shooting's probably left us a bit low on ammo, but how low? Well, like most other games in the genre, we don't magically tell you how much ammo you've got left. You'll need to do a check. Checking ammo in 83 is nice and easy. Simply hold the reload key for half a second, and you'll automatically inspect the magazine. This updates the HUD, and we know now that we're extremely low on rounds, so we should do a reload. And here's something that's new. You can now interrupt the reload and the game won't reset to the start of the process, but will instead remember where we're up to. Not only that, this weapon wasn't empty when I went to reload it, and because it fires from a closed bolt, it's still cocked and it still has a round in the chamber. I can fire that round off at any time. But if I choose to do so while in mid-reload, just remember that the bullet's going to go wherever the barrel's pointing, not where I'm looking. So you want to be very careful not to shoot your teammates in the process. And now the weapon really is empty, so I can finish the reload process, which will pick up at whatever stage it left off. Another new feature available to some weapons is the tactical reload. This is where you can choose to reload in a shorter period of time, but you'll drop the old magazine onto the ground in the process, losing any rounds that were still in it. But once they're gone, they're gone. You can't pick them back up again. So it's a trade-off, not an outright advantage. And for the last couple of things I'm going to show you, I'm going to need to switch to a different weapon, in this case the L1A1, and I need to use that weapon for one very particular reason, the sights. The L1A1 uses peep sights, which are the cause of a common complaint about video game gun sights going back as far as iron sights have actually been a thing in games. Computer screens don't work like the human eye, so the aperture of peep sights is always either realistically sized but blocks the player's view, or is opened right up to allow you to see what you're shooting at but looks very unrealistic while the weapon is lowered. So for 83, we've decided to try for the best of both worlds. While the weapon is shouldered, the aperture is real world size, nice and small, but when you raise it up to your eye, suddenly you can see a lot more through it. And the closer you move your eye to it, the less of the ring you see and the more of the world you see instead. Just like the real thing, or as close as we can get to it. One final thing, some of you may have noticed that when I've been raising my iron sights, the view hasn't actually zoomed in very much, but then at other times I've been able to zoom in quite substantially when I need to. This is the default behaviour in 83, and it allows you to actually use your sights at short range rather than being an impediment due to the zoom. But we do realise that some of you would rather it just work like it does in other games, where using the iron sights zooms you in as far as each weapon allows, so we've decided that that's still going to be possible here too. We've included a slider that lets you choose how far into zoom when you raise the sights, and you can happily max that out to make all of your weapons automatically zoom in as far as their individual configs allow.
But we haven't just been working on guns. Environment art is a real big focus now, and to try to streamline our process and pipeline, we've been working on some absolutely fantastic tools to allow us to work as best as possible on really large levels, the scale of which 83 has. More recently, we've been looking at ways to create very detailed woodlands and forests without having to have someone go in and painstakingly place every twig, leaf and bush. These tools will really help us to recreate the various biomes that you'll find in the maps, and all the assets are really starting to come together now. None of these areas are finished yet, but we are looking forward to showing you a lot more about them and the tools we use to create them once they're finished. Now, the question we probably hear more than any other is which armies are going to be in the game when it launches. We're pleased to announce today that the US Army will be included as a playable force. Like the British and Soviet forces announced before them, the US will have a full set of uniforms and kit for both the summer and winter periods. Of course, the US force will come with its own unique set of weapons and equipment, and while there are just a few of those that you're going to see today, we have plenty more in the pipeline and we'll be showing them to you in due course. I'm sure it goes without saying that everything you're seeing here is work in progress, and some elements are placeholder for the purpose of demonstration. As always, I'm sure you always have more questions. So if you want to stay up to date for everything in the 83 community, please be sure to join our Discord and follow us on social media.
And that's all we have for you today. So thank you all for joining us, and stay safe.